Hey everybody, I'm Eddie Starr, and this is the College of Rock and Roll Knowledge. Class is now in session. This is where the music and culture that shaped a generation live on, and my own path through the world of rock and roll. I was the kid with lessons. Every week, I attended classical guitar, tap dancing, and art lessons. And this was a way, in addition to keeping me out of trouble after school, it was my parents' way of expanding my horizons, for me to find out where my interests lay, and I am forever grateful to them for providing me with those opportunities. But the lessons and the music were really sort of separate things. I did do recitals. I was in the 6th grade talent show, but I hadn't made the connection between bands and playing guitar in a band or wanting to do that. But in 1978, my parents and their friends went to see a show and took us kids at the Ice House in Pasadena, California. It was an ice house and it was converted to a venue. And the band was Magwheel and the Lugnuts, and they sang songs from the 1950s. They were a cover band. And the guys with the slick back hair, the leather jackets, and the girls with the poodle skirts on, that presentation intrigued me. And that was definitely a moment where I thought, But I still had my lessons, and I also continued to listen to music on the radio. And it really would not be until I went to junior high school and I made new friends who introduced me to a lot of new music, and new wave was starting to happen. Adam and the Ants, Men at Work, Billy Idol, MTV. And MTV really did change things because you could finally see your music. And it wasn't just like seeing a picture of an artist in Cream magazine or Circus magazine. You could see how they moved. You could see how they talked. You could see what their ideas were by watching the video. And so I decided I wanted to make sounds like that. I wanted to be a part of that world. Because it wasn't just like, oh, I'm listening to music. They were worlds. They were like being in another world. And so I went to my guitar teacher and I said, I want to play rock and roll. And I was taught the Marines hymn. So I quit the classical guitar lessons. And some friends of my parents, their son had a Hohner electric guitar, which I bought off him for $32 with my allowance money. And then my parents took me to Downey Music Center and bought me a little PV audition amp and signed me up for lessons. And the first song I learned was Who Can It Be Now by Men at Work, and then Just What I Needed by the Cars. And after that, because I had that foundation of classical guitar, I was basically able to take it from there. I had upgraded to a proper stereo with a turntable, a cassette player, a receiver, and I would put my record on the turntable and I would tune my guitar to the opening chord of whatever record I was going to play along with. And it really did train my ear, and I learned to play along with my records. And I also bought a book with chords, bar chords, and how to play electric guitar type of book. And I continued to listen to other music. I was very into Billy Idol. and his early albums, and Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll, and Album. And I made friends with some older kids, I should say, and they told me, oh, you need to go back. If you're into that, then, you need to check out Generation X. You need to check out the Runaways. And at the time, it was very hard to find a lot of those records because a lot of them were out of print, which means that the record company no longer pressed up records or CDs or cassettes. So you would have to go to the used bin to find them. And very occasionally you could find like a brand new copy at a Music Land, which was a record store in a mall, a chain store that basically carried the top 40. And that was really, those early years really set the foundation for what I wanted to do. And when I look back on it now, that connection with my parents and listening to the oldies from the 50s and 60s, there wasn't really a whole lot of difference between like Eddie Cochran and really the Sex Pistols, except it was amplified, and of course the messaging was different, but they actually covered a lot of those songs. So there was that connection. And I went out and was looking to meet people. I wanted to be in a band, but at the time, a lot of people were playing heavy metal, and guitarists were like Randy Rhoads, or they were trying to be like Yngwie or one of those heavy metal type guys. There weren't a lot of people playing rhythm guitar like Joan Jett or Lou Reed or Keith Richards, people that I really looked up to. And I think I'm going to leave it there. As usual, I will put in the description box below some of the music that I've mentioned today. And I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing my podcast. Tell me your fantasy. I'll be what you want me to be. The darkness will turn to light. I'm your dirty secret tonight. Dream or not and take a look inside. Peepshow reveals what you hide. Eddie Starr's College of Rock and Roll Knowledge is a production of Ton Up Incorporated. Copyright 2020 Ton Up Incorporated.